Let's now bring in Executive Vice President of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, Lewie Pugh. Lewie, good morning to you. The DOT says in an assessment of the suspect, per Brooks reporting there, he answered only 2 of the 12 English proficiency questions correctly and only accurately identified 1 out of 4 highway signs he was shown. How in the world did this guy have a commercial driver's license?
Yes, ma'am. For far too long, I mean, we've made it too easy to get into the trucking industry, and it's unfortunate. OIDA has been working for decades to raise the standards, and this is just one more reason why we need to raise the standards. This gentleman should have never been behind the wheel in the first place. When you can't read or understand English good enough to read signs, talk to emergency folks if there's an accident or something happens, or even if you're just stopping a random DOT inspection, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler that weighs 80,000 pounds.
Yeah.
I drove truck for 25 years. Not everybody can do this. I have 2.5 million miles of safe driving. I'm very proud of that. So does many, many more truckers, but there's just some bad folks. And maybe they're not bad folks, but people that don't have the ability to be doing these things. And unfortunately, we've opened the gate wide open, it seems like, since 2019.
Yeah, and driving next to our families on the highway. While we're at it, my team and I were talking about this story this morning. How many other truck drivers are out there behind the wheel that would fail the same test, Lewie?
Well, we think there's a lot, but that's the unfortunate thing here at OIDA. We've been trying to figure some of that information out. You know, we advocated to get the English language proficiency put back in the out of service tour, which this man should have been put out of service when he was stopped in New Mexico. It wasn't, but we're trying to find out. I know DOT's trying to find out. We support what Secretary's Duffy's doing. He's been listening to truckers. Truckers have been complaining about this for years, and it just continues to get worse.
Yeah, we will, of course, be taking Secretary Duffy's press conference live later on this morning when he starts speaking. He's expected to enforce formal action against 3 states failing to enforce federal English language proficiency requirements for commercial drivers. How far do you hope he takes that?
Well, I hope that he stops this. We hope him and the states stop issuing these non-domicile CDLs. These are not needed. And I hope that they continue to work, because that's what Duffy and Secretary Duffy and DOT's seems like they're working toward, of raising the standards and the barrier of entry to be a trucker. Because again, I can't emphasize enough, this gentleman should have never received a license in the first place. But unfortunately, there's unscrupulous training schools out there. There's unscrupulous folks giving license out there. And unfortunately, what we saw in Florida will continue to happen if we don't get folks who can't understand the language and operate the trucks off the road.
Yeah, just frightening, and the victims have gotten lost in all this too. Lastly, before I let you go, Lewie, the State Department is now pausing work visas for foreign commercial truck drivers as Secretary Rubio warns that they're endangering American lives. I know that the American Trucking Association projects that there's going to be a shortage of about 160,000 truck drivers by 2030. How will shutting down visas for foreign drivers impact problems associated with the shortfall?
It won't, because there is no trucking shortage. The American Trucking Association, unfortunately, has been pushing that narrative for almost 40 years now. And unfortunately, it isn't true. There's plenty of research and studies. There's 400,000 plus new CDLs issued in this country every single solitary year. We don't have a driver shortage. We have a training shortage. We have a pay shortage. We have a parking shortage. We have some shortages, and unfortunately, due to those shortages, people don't stay in our industry. So we have an over 90% turnover rate in the long-haul trucking sector of trucking in the United States. That's where the problem is. It isn't getting people behind the wheel, so it isn't going to do anything other than make our roads safer by not putting these folks behind the wheel.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.